You are from the Anioma, Ushimili side of the river Niger, and we hear that people who are not mainstream Igbos, the Igbos in Delta, the Igbos in rivers, Igbo subgroups, are also good enough to represent Igbos. But the dilemma here is that people from all the other ethnic groups that we mentioned, they also belong to the South-South. They are not mainstream Igbos. So why is this, a big issue about we are also Igbos? Because if the thing goes to Igbo land, we too are part of the Igbos. And if so, who are your favorite candidates, possible candidates from the marginal Igbo group?
You talked about mainstream Igbo. What is that? I don't think there's anything called mainstream Igbo.
Saturday, August 9 is today, 2025. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining me in this video. I came across this video online. Maybe a lot of you must have seen it, about the interview between a guest on Arise News with Dr. Reuben Abati, when Abati made a statement that they are mainstream Igbos and people who are not mainstream Igbos. And this guest has, countered the intentional, divisive agenda of the Nigerian state that even led to the state creations before, that led to geopolitical zones that they call South-South today, because they just want to make sure that the power of the Southeast will be reduced to nothing. Now, in this video, before you watch it, I really want to let you know about something you have never thought before. There are so many Yorubas that are living in Ijon land, especially in Ondo State and some, many places there are Ijon land, but they call them Yorubas. They did not divide them. And someone like that is Omoyole Sowore. Omoyole Sowore is an Ijon man. He's not an Yoruba man. Okay? When you are trying to, give him identity by where he came from, I mean his land, you understand? But because these are part of Yoruba people who are living in Ijon land, they are still Yorubas. You understand? So these are the things that they use to counter Igbos, because they are afraid that these people want to secede out of Nigeria. And the only way we can, break their bones, break their wings, is for us to divide them along the ethnic line. I would like you to really watch this video and understand the point I am making right now. At the end, I have a lot of things to explain to you.
You are from the Anioma, Ushimili side of the river Niger, and we hear that people who are not mainstream Igbos, the Igbos in Delta, the Igbos in rivers, Igbo subgroups, are also good enough to represent Igbos. But the dilemma here is that people from all the other ethnic groups that we mentioned, they also belong to the South-South. They are not mainstream Igbos. So why is this, a big issue about we are also Igbos? Because if the thing goes to Igbo land, we too are part of the Igbos. And if so, who are your favorite candidates, possible candidates from the marginal Igbo group?
You talked about mainstream Igbo. What is that? I don't think there's anything called mainstream Igbo. Because, you see, if we go back a little bit in history, even from the coup that brought, that truncated Nigeria's democracy, as far as I'm concerned, and put us in the country which seemed to be in 1966, one of the major participants was a young man he was a major, Zogo. He's from Okpanam. Okpanam is just 2 minutes away from Asaba. It's more or less the same place as Asaba, which makes him an Oshimili Igbo person. From that axis, the Anyocha Oshimili area, we speak exactly the same kind of, when I have a discussion with any brother of mine across the Niger, he understands what I'm saying. There might be little fluctuations of one word. We can say shine, they can say rine, and little things like that. But in the main, it is the same dialect, it is the same language. Now, when you look at even the effort of the Biafran war, and I want to talk about personal experience here, you will see that the Oshimili Anyocha Igbos were even the ones that bore most of the brunt of that war, both in terms of Of course, the Asaba massacre is known to everybody. I don't think any town, either in the southeast or anywhere in Nigeria, suffered as much as the Asaba people did, with the kind of killings and the program that went on in Asaba on that fateful day. Why was that so? If you think those people, the federal troops did not have enough intelligence to tell them that this town was solidly behind the Biafran agitation. My late father was a medical doctor who was practicing in Benin at the time when the Civil War broke out. I was barely 6 years old, my two elder sisters. And my mom is of the Yoruba extraction. She had a choice of taking us to her parents in Ibadan where they were living. But she said, no, wherever my husband is going, I'm going to go with my husband. And they put us in two cars and we went across. They went to look for an old friend of his that they were all in Benin, who lived in Oka, Chief Dom Mosu Njikoka, as they called him. And we stayed with him in his house in Oka. And both families became one. And thereafter, we ran from one town to the other throughout the 30 months of the Biafran Civil War. Obviously, if my father did not take us away, possibly I might not even have been here because the children were killed, women were killed. There is no family in Asaba that did not suffer the loss of one person or the other, a man, woman, or child. Because don't forget, when those federal troops came to Asaba, the idea was that, oh, come and welcome the federal troops, they are here. And they all gathered the people in the open field, and then they opened fire on them. So whenever I hear this talk about Igbo presidency, and people are trying to say there is some subgroup of Igbo, or there's mainstream Igbo, it doesn't resonate with me. Because, you see, the Anioma people, or rather the Oshimili Anyocha people, will always be shortchanged in Nigeria. Let me tell you a little story. In 1999, when the new democracy started, it was everywhere. It was an open secret that the person that was tipped to be the secretary to the federation at that time was Chief Philip Asiodu. He is my godfather, he's my uncle, he took me into government. We all know his antecedents, super palmsec, very cerebral and everything. He's one of the custodians of Nigerian history and political economy and everything. And he was supposed to be the secretary to the government of of Nigeria at that time. And just before the announcement was made, they decided that, oh no, since a Southeasterner, an Igbo man, was going to be number 3, that is the Senate president, the Wazobia thing. There was going to be a president from the West, a vice president from the North, and the Senate president from the East, as it were, who was an Igbo man. Now, they refused to make it. He was not confirmed as the SGF anymore, which was supposed to be like number 6 or whatever in the hierarchy, because he was an Igbo man. So at that time, it was he conveniently lost that position because he was Igbo. But they didn't remember that he was also South-South, because the whole idea, they said they had to look for a true South-South Nigerian, and that's how Ufo Tekaite was made the secretary to the government. So you see, when it's convenient, we are not Igbos. When it's convenient, we are South-South. When it's convenient, we are not South-South. When it's not convenient, we are not Igbos. So you see, they can't keep picking and choosing for us all the time. And it is particularly heart-wrenching when I see, hey, we know how Nigeria works. Whether an Igbo man will be president, only God knows. Personally, I want to see that happen, even if you say, yes, the Igbos from the Southeast, have not enjoyed it at this time. But also the Igbos from Anyota Oshimili, who have a skin in the game and who have suffered everything the Igbo man from across the Niger has suffered, has also never been. Don't forget that when Midwest was a region, the first premier, that is the only region that was even created by a referendum in Nigeria, when there were just 4 regions in Nigeria. The first premier was Chief Dennis Osadebe. Yes, he was from Asaba. And he was the premier of Midwest States. Yes, Midwest region, rather. So what I'm saying is that we never lacked the manpower, the capacity of human beings or that human capital that can deliver on that kind of mandate as the president of Nigeria. So to keep shutting the door at us, using all these, little colorations that are always brought into the matter. You are South now. You are not Igbo now. You are not mainstream Igbo. It just doesn't make sense to me. That is the truth. I just want to put the record straight in terms of what it is we are doing as a country. You see, there are too many injustices in Nigeria already that we are complaining about. I, as an Igbo man, am complaining that an Igbo man has not been president. My father is from Asaba, but he is Igbo. And that is what we are talking about here. That makes me come from the South as a geopolitical zone and an Igbo.
All right. Glad that you watched to the end of this video. You see, the reason why my purpose of just publishing this video is to make people to understand that your enemies knows you, even though you don't know yourself. If you are a Muslim or you are a Christian, the enemies to your religion, or I could say the devil knows you. If you're a real child of God, the devil knows you that this person is a child of God, is a servant of God. The enemy knows you. So no matter how you try to deny your identity, if they want to strike the enemies of God, you have been identified already. You denying the identity does not matter at all. Now, what I'm trying to say in essence is that a lot of people who are Igbos, because of all this, the divisive shenanigans, they don't still agree that they are Igbos. Well, it doesn't change anything. I gave people stories, what my dad told me, my late dad, what he told me that happened, how he was saved during the Civil War. He's supposed to have been killed even before. Nobody, could have known me today if they killed him. Now, sometimes it is good to be good, okay? People around him who are not, from his side, the ones that came to tell him, come on, you have to go, they will kill you. Even the person that saved my dad, they later discovered that it was him that gave him information to start living. They killed the person for you to know how serious it is, because they used to see my dad as someone who is very important in the society then, and so on and so forth. So because of that, he was a main target, that this man is an Igbo man, we've got to kill him. So just imagine if my dad was killed because he was an Igbo man, and someone like me will come out today say, no, I'm not an Igbo man, when your dad was killed because he's an Igbo man. Anyway, all these things are, identity crises, and I think one day we'll get to the end of it.